Good evening. Melbourne's COVID outbreak has grown by 5 cases, including an infected man who visited a busy Craigieburn shopping centre and his partner, a cleaner at a city building site. The source of the new Delta variant that's infiltrated Victoria is yet to be identified, but infectious diseases experts suspect it was a hotel quarantine leak. Medical reporter Emily Rice with the latest.
The COVID threat has Craigieburn residents on edge.
It feels a bit scary when we come out, considering I have 2 small kids.
COVID cases are really alarming and really concerning.
A northern suburbs man who frequents Craigieburn Central is among Victoria's 5 new coronavirus cases.
This individual is a daily visitor to Craigieburn Shopping Centre.
As a result, at least 8 Craigieburn Central stores have been added to the exposure list. But exactly where the man caught COVID is a mystery.
I don't think it's necessarily surface transmission, but I do think that it's the potential for people who pass each other within the corridors of that shopping complex. The
Craigieburn shopper's partner is also infected. She is a cleaner at a pro-build construction site in the city which has been shut down with testing ordered for 170 employees.
The workers are regarded as primary close contacts of the new positive cases.
Of the 5 cases, as well as the northern suburbs couple, there are 3 linked to existing clusters. One is a housemate of the positive Maidstone care employee who has been in isolation. The other 2 are linked to the West Melbourne cluster, which is believed to be the concerning Delta variant. A child of the West Melbourne family and a colleague of one of the positive cases who holidayed in New South Wales. The West Melbourne cluster is a worry for Victoria's contact tracing commander.
The Delta variant cluster that we're most concerned about, now 9 active cases.
The Health Minister has also confirmed up to 5 public housing residents have been identified as close contacts of that outbreak. All are isolating and none have tested positive.
We want to make sure that the trauma that those communities went through last year is not repeated.
Health authorities are still trying to work out how the highly infectious variant that mutated in India infiltrated our state.
My strong hypothesis is that it's coming through a importation from overseas through our quarantine hotel system. That would be the most likely.
Infectious diseases expert Professor Sharon Lewin also stresses there is no evidence of a quarantine leak at this stage. Whether you live here in Craigieburn, in Cranbourne or closer to the CBD, the risk of catching COVID remains real. So if you've been to an exposure site or start to feel sick, no matter where you reside, please get tested. With the outbreak caseload now at 69, the question of whether lockdown lifts on Friday is, like many of our current COVID infections, a mystery.
Every day when I see 4 or 5 new cases in the morning, it's quite disappointing.
And Emily is at Jeff's shed tonight. The vaccine blitz is being extended.
Alicia, aged care and disability workers were given priority access this week at vaccination hubs like this one at Jeff's shed. So they were basically put in line to get their jabs first. Now that will be extended until Monday. And then from Wednesday until Sunday next week, paramedics will get priority access. So in other words, they don't need to book to get their vaccination. They just turn up and go into a special queue and hopefully won't have to wait too long to get their COVID jab. Alicia?
All right, Emily Rice there, thank you. Well, in a show of force, police outnumbered protesters today as anti-lockdown and anti-vaccination demonstrators threatened to take over the CBD. They had planned to disrupt mass vaccination clinics, but as Mimi Becker reports, tensions only briefly boiled over in the city.
On the ground and in handcuffs.
Where's COVID caused excess mortality? You're destroying people's lives for this?
Flinders Street Station overrun with police officers.
Oh, they got there.
Anti-lockdown and anti-vaccination protesters in their sights and many under arrest.
It is under duress. I have done nothing wrong.
What was planned as a small business rally,
we are here as businesses, we have families. Listen to me, please.
Was soon hijacked.
Medical exemption! I don't have to wear a mask.
With multiple people questioned, including this teenage boy taking a stand.
17 years old.
17 years old!
At the Royal Exhibition Building, as hundreds waited to be vaccinated, a lone Free Victoria protester.
This is appalling. It's putrid behaviour, right? I'm serious.
Claiming to be media, he refused to give his details.
Yeah, I'm minding my own business.
Before being surrounded by police and moved along.
Please let those who are motivated with a very positive intent to get vaccinated do so freely and safely.
Anti-vaccination protests planned for the clinic fizzling out as officers outnumbered protesters.
Helicopters overhead, government resources having to be wasted again for a minority of the population.
So I think it's good that they're around, keeping us safe.
At the showground, police guarded the clinic, while in Sandown, officers patrolled queues.
Did that not deter you at all from coming today?
Protesters, goodness no.
I haven't seen any yet, which is good because we don't need those idiots around.
With the Chief Health Officer taking a swipe at anti-vaxxers.
The vaccine is not mandated, so as an individual you're free not to get it if you don't want to get it for yourself. I still find some discomfort with that because we're all going to be protected with high vaccination coverage, but it is your choice.
While COVID compliance officers also pulled people over in Coburg overnight, ensuring people stick to their 10-kilometre radius.
Just doing some COVID compliance checks. I just want to know what your reason is for being out this evening.
And Mimi is outside police headquarters in the city. Mimi, how many people were arrested today?
While many people were placed in handcuffs, Alicia, police formally arrested 2 people, and one of those was a man who was charged with 3 counts of resisting arrest. Officers issued 16 penalty notices, and the majority of those were for breaching the Chief Health Officer's orders, specifically that rule around staying within your 10-kilometre radius. 3 other people were fined for not wearing a face mask, Alicia.
OK, Mimi, thank you. Well, the red-faced Adelaide Crows have been fined $50,000 after players and officials failed to wear masks on a flight from Sydney. The club says it's embarrassing. It was caught not playing by the strict COVID rules. More from Edward Godfrey.
A seemingly small lapse in judgment that's had big ramifications.
It's obviously really disappointing. But even more so, we're apologetic.
The Adelaide Football Club hit with a $50,000 fine by the AFL. Swift and severe punishment over photos showing Crows players not wearing face masks correctly on their flight back from Sydney last weekend.
First and foremost, we're apologetic to those who are on the plane, apologetic to the AFL, who must be incredibly frustrated, and then to our members, who are no doubt disappointed in this.
The Crows head of football conceding a total of 5 players and 3 members of staff broke the COVID rules, but unwilling to unmask those not seen in this photo.
We don't want to target any individual because at the end of the day, we had about 55 people in that travelling party, all of which on that flight could have done something about it if they had seen anyone wearing the mask incorrectly. So we share the blame.
It's not the first time the club's breached a straightforward rule during the pandemic. Suspensions handed down last season to players who flouted limits on training while in the Barossa Valley. But the timing of this breach is sensitive. The Crows players required to comply with 2 days of restrictions from tonight after facing Collingwood. The Magpies granted a controversial exemption to cross the closed border to play in Adelaide, touching down this morning on a specially chartered flight and boarding 2 buses waiting on the tarmac. The operation not going smoothly, as players and staff had to get off the buses again to show their identification to police, eventually reboarding and making their way to Adelaide Oval. And with nowhere to go, plenty of time for a nap in the hours before the bounce. Both clubs will be tested again straight after tonight's match. Collingwood will then board buses underneath Adelaide Oval, head to the airport and fly straight back on that chartered flight to Melbourne. Crows players will go straight home and they'll have restricted movement for the next 48 hours until both clubs return to negative test results. Alicia?
OK, Edward Godfrey there, thank you.